walking on fire, trying not to burn my feet. I'm tired of fighting, saying things we don't mean. You know I don't like it when you're packing your bag and turning your back, calling me a liar, calling me a liar. Trying not to let my feelings get to me. Sometimes I can't let them go. So now I got these voices. Now I got these voices in my head, baby. I can fall.
Yes guys, what is going on? Welcome back to another video. And in this video, as you can see, I'm in my house. Reason being, I was just about to go outside and start the video, and I think it might rain. So I'm trying to get it done before it rains. But there was, I swear, I promise, like scouts on or whatever that means. The world's biggest bee was outside my house. I was like, nope. I'm not going today. Corona's not catching me. There's no way I'm gonna let Voldemort's bee come for me. Because I swear that as soon as I opened the door, it was just hovering. It wasn't even like it was flying, it was just hovering. It was just like waiting, saying, you ready to do this? And I was like, nope. Okay, so jobs for today. We're going to be installing some rear brake pads. So as you might have watched in my previous video, I don't know if it was previous or the one before, because obviously with this corona thing, like I've put a lot of videos out and I've private some and some haven't gone out, but I did change the front brake pads to some, I don't want to call them racing pads because there was a geezer, racing driver, and he was like, they're not racing pads. So I put some upgraded brake pads on the front, Ferodo DS 2500s. They're a bit noisy, don't get me wrong, when they're cold obviously, so you got to like brake hard to warm them up and whatnot, but they're okay. But for the rear, I just thought I was going to go for just some standard pads, but these are not just standard, they're slightly above standard. Euro car part special, Brembo, so there was like Pagid and another brand, I think it's ATE, but I went for the Pagid, the Brembo, sorry. And when I looked online, these ones are the closest thing you're going to get to the step just below track. So I just thought, you know what, there's no point me getting track pads for the rear, even though it might like cause some sort of unbalance and whatnot. And if it does, oh well, throw them out, get some new ones because I'm an idiot. But yeah, thought I'd pick these two up. So these are the Brembos. I've checked the size and everything, so they are the right ones, and also they come with the weights, because I'm not going to lie to you, the front ones don't come with weights, and I don't know if that causes it is the reason for the squeak or whatnot, but there is a form of squeak every now and then, but it doesn't really bother me because I'm driving hard and the engine sounds beautiful. Also picked up some brake grease, so that's some brake grease from Euro Car Parts, got that at the same time. Williams Performance, shout out to Williams Performance, man like Mark Williams, hooked me up with some 5.1. Reason why I'm changing the brake fluid today, which is probably more important than obviously the brakes, because there is a bit of meat, and I will show you how they look, but the current BMW fluid, I don't know what the boiling points are, but it's not as good as this. So the wet boiling point is 185 and the dry is 272, which means that it's going to be better than what it is stock, and it's also dot 5.1. Not that the dot really matters, it's more about the dry and wet boiling points. But yeah, we'll be flushing that with this. So this is from Halfords, a one-man brake and clutch bleeding kit. I've looked online, I've seen some videos, and it's a UK company, so I thought, you know what, why not give it a go? People might be looking and thinking, on a 20 grand car, why are you going to use something as cheap as this? This cost about £7, mate. But it works really well, because I'll show you when we go outside anyway, but you've got this little bit here that goes onto the bleeder, and you clamp it down with obviously this, and again I'll show you when we get out there. And then inside the bottle there's a one-way valve, which means when you do take your foot off the brake pedal, it won't be sucking up air. You don't need to like dip it into the fluid to make sure it doesn't suck air in. It just doesn't allow any air back in, which is great. And that is about it. Don't know why I've got my son's ball here, so
out of the game.
Well,
now.
we hope not.
Alright, so I couldn't really find my punch tool, so I'm using this. I just made this just now by myself. Literally, I'm just going to place it in that hole there, literally, and then I punched on the end of that. That kind of started it off, and then as you can see, it's starting to come out around the back. And if you are having issues taking out the pins or whatnot, just press the top, get your finger in there and press the top off the little retainer clip here. Literally drop out, you can just pull it straight out. Next, what you want to do under there is just release the cap off the brake fluid line, so when you're squeezing the piston back in, you're not going to like put any pressure back through the system. Right, with that done, you should just be able to squeeze the pads in. Remember to do it while they're in, it might help to get the piston back in. So that's one that comes straight out, and as you can see here, the brand is in fact Jurid. So obviously the calipers are made by Bosch, the pads are Textar, the discs are Textar, and the pads are Jurid, so they're all over the gaff. But yeah, also to note on European cars, or whether it's just UK cars anyway, the brake pad warning sensor is actually on the driver's side rear, so that's over here.
So that's going to be on that pad. So when I take that out, I'm going to be very, very careful. If it has obviously touched the disc, because it's one loan, I'm going to replace it. If you don't replace it and you reset your iDrive, you're going to crash and come into errors and whatnot. So only reset it once you've replaced the sensor. I don't currently have a sensor, so if I look at the sensor and it has been damaged, I will not be resetting my rear brake pads. I'll just be leaving them till I get a new sensor, and it's literally one wire that goes into there that I'm literally going to just pop back in without even having to take the brake pads out anyway, so there's no bother. Okay, so as you can see on mine, I will not have to be replacing my sensor, because as you can see, it's not exactly flush, so it hasn't scraped the discs. I'm going to reuse that, so I'm just going to prise that out gently and make sure I keep the clip with it, because the clip is what kind of holds it in place. Alright, so the next thing you want to do, once you've obviously cleaned up your guide pin, what you can do, I always like to just put one in because it helps me guide it better, but I haven't obviously hammered it in properly yet. But once you've done that and you've then also cleaned up this, you want to make sure that the flat bit is facing you at all times. Make sure that's very, very important. So that by that, you literally need to bend this in. I don't know how well you'll be able to see, but bend it so that it tucks around it, and then that way you know there's a bit of resistance on the pads. But yeah, you know what I mean once you do it yourself. Okay, so as you can see here, we've put both of the pins back in, and as you can see, they are slightly protruding, which is a good sign. So that's where you know it's flush, or if not, just put your head all the way around on the inside and just make sure that they're as flush as possible. But yeah, once those two nipples are protruding, lovely jubbly, the next thing you want to do is close the cap, obviously in the engine bay, pump the brakes until it gets in nice and firm, and then obviously go and bed them in. And I can put a link over here for my old video, because I did a little bedding over there in that video when I did the fronts. So yeah, just there, this was seated in here. So what I used a flathead screwdriver just to prise it out, and I had to use another one just to hold it in, because it was in quite firm. The main thing you want to make sure is that you don't puncture this little mesh that's on it, because there's obviously a filter to stop any crap from going actually into the brake fluid. So now what you can see there, we've got a nice little greenish yellow fluid in there, and it should be clear, which means it does need to be changed. It does change over time. I'm hoping this is going to sort out obviously the spongy brake pedal that I kind of have, because they're not as strong as I want them to be. I have heard that there is some sort of mod you can do electronically to make it stronger, so again I'll be looking into that with defined coding. But yeah, the next thing I want to do now is get a little syringe. If you've got a syringe, clear it, clean it out, a carpal syringe, whatever you want to use, and just suck some of that out, because obviously we're going to put some new brake fluid in there and keep that topped up while we're pressing the brake pedal. But yeah, if we don't take any fluid out, it's going to take longer, and it's going to mix up, and you'll be in like all sorts of nonsense. So yeah, let's drain as much as we can from that, but make sure we don't run it dry. Okay, so as you can see, don't be naughty again, don't be naughty, my friend. You can see this is how much we've managed to get out just using that little Nurofen syringe. If I was you, I'd just use the Nurofen syringe if I was you, because you can get a turkey baster, but they do take out quite a bit. So just be careful and note, like, that's how much you took out. So when you're using the brake fluid, again, big shout out to Williams Performance for hooking me up with this. You know how much you need to enter a bit at a time. What I'm also going to do, I'm also going to make sure that there's no any sort of crap on this, and then I'm going to put this back simply because I just want to make sure I put it in, make sure I don't forget. Okay, so the next thing we want to do, we're just going to take off our little bleed valve there. So that's just here. Hopefully the camera's got it in focus, but if it's a bit stiff, you just want to get your fingernail just in that little crevice there and just push it away. I'm going to have to use two hands for this, but once you do that, it should come straight off. It is a bit stiff, obviously, because obviously it hasn't been done in quite some time.
That's what she said.
Probably never, since obviously owning a car. But yeah, I'm gonna get on that. So with that said and done now, I've obviously got my 11mm spanner all set up, ready to go clockwise, so that direction to loosen it. I'm only going to do it a quarter off a turn as well, so just from 9 o'clock to 12 o'clock. I've also got this hose slightly going up, because I'd rather it go up, even though there's a one-way valve in there, I'd rather it go up just for peace of mind. So if there is going to be anything going back in, it's going to be fluid and not obviously air. But yeah, next one I'm going to do, I'm going to get you guys all set up, and I'm going to go and press the pedal a few times just so you guys can see the initial colours.
Walking on fire, trying not to bend my feet, I'm tired of fighting.
So I've just done about 4 and it still looks the same colour. It's getting slightly lighter as well, just to note. Don't know how well you can see it again, but yeah, it's getting slightly lighter. But I'm going to just give, I don't know, 8 to 10. So I'd recommend 8 to 10 good firm presses off the brake pedal while you go in there. Don't be scared, it will go all the way down. Release it all the way down again, and then check on the brake fluid reservoir, make sure that you ain't running out, and then check on the colour of this, because this is starting to get a lot clearer, which is great.
Calling me a liar, calling me a liar, trying not to.
Alright, so I've just done around 10 to 15 squeezes off the brake, and that is looking a lot better, as you can see against my hand there. Don't know how well it will focus, hopefully it focuses good enough, but yeah, there we go. that is how clear it is now compared to this malarkey. So if I just hold that side to side, you can see one looks like nice clear brake fluid, the other thing looks like desert water. So yeah, all I'm going to do now is literally go in the opposite direction. So again, I'm going to act like I'm loosening it now, so I'm turning it this way, and I'm just going to make sure it's nice and tight. I'm going to put the camera down so I don't shred the bolt or anything, but yeah, make sure you turn that nice and tight, and then you want to release this bit here. What I'd recommend is actually to squeeze it as you're releasing. That way, if there's anything that's going to drip out, you can just turn it up, hold it up that way for it to drip all the way into the bottle. So the rear left has been done, which is furthest away from the reservoir, and then it's going to be the rear right. On that side, it's the same method. The fronts are slightly different. There's 2 bleed nipples on them. So yeah, when we get to the fronts, I'll let you guys know how it's done. Okay, so as you can see just there, we've got 1 nipple at the back and 1 on the front as well. Oh, that's a bit bright. Yeah, so there's 1 on the back and then there's 1 on the front, which is over there just dead center. So what we're going to do, we're going to use the same sort of method. Obviously, we're going to do the one furthest away from the reservoir, which is obviously, this is the passenger front now, which is going to be this one, and then we'll do the one closer, so outside and then inside, and it'll be the same on the other side. Once you've done that, obviously make sure you keep looking at your brake fluid. Once that's all done, we're going to go out for a drive, obviously bed the rear brakes in, and obviously tell you guys what I think, or whether hopefully there's been a change in the brake pedal. Let's get into it. Early impressions, it already, I think I bowled my brake fluid, because the rear brakes don't make too much of a difference, but whoa, okay, the brake fluid definitely was gone. The brake fluid was gone. The brake fluid 100% was gone, and the rear brakes might help because they're new, but they weren't, my old ones weren't too bad. But the main thing I wanted to do is the brake fluid, and I thought, you know, while I'm there, I might as well just get it done. Oh yes, I'm getting that swish, and it's weird enough, like those of you that obviously drive, assume you drive, but you want your brakes to be good. It's probably the most important thing, along with tyres, that needs to be. Whoa, he's caning it, man. What's wrong with you? Oh yeah, that's what I wanted. This is what I want. This is what I wanted. I want this assurance. And I think obviously with me doing that track there at Snet, if you haven't watched that video, I'll leave a little. I always do that, but I think it's here. I think it's here. If it's here, give me a like because I got it right. But yeah, after that track day, it never really felt as solid as normal as it was. So the brake fluid was a long time coming. So I had a few look arounds. I was like, there's no point me getting race fluid because I don't plan to change it every year. With this, I could do a couple of track days, change it a year and a half, but every year or after every track day, that's the norm with race fluid. You can't just leave it in there for 2 years. You have to change it because it's made to last, but it won't be the same every time. But with this, you get that same consistency. It gets hot, it cools down, it gets hot, it cools down, but it absorbs water over time. Brake fluid does, and then obviously you're gonna have to change it. Hence why they say 2-year intervals. But yeah, I can't really do much because obviously it's a brake fluid video. It's more about the sharpness, and to be fair, there is going to be a difference, but obviously comparing that to pads, old pads to new pads, isn't going to really make a difference. The main thing is how they perform. So saying that, once this all gets cleared out, once all of this corona stuff gets cleared out, I will be booking a track day at Snet. So I will be going back to Snet. I'm going to try and team up with other few M140 drivers as well. So Chris, that video should be live by now. So Chris's M140, let me just quickly swerve around that. Yeah, Chris's M140 video would be out, so make sure you check that one out as well. But hopefully if I can go up there with him, his is running stage 2. I don't know what mine will be running by then. It's a little sneak peek. There will be definitely some changes by then, both power and handling, hopefully, God's willing. So yeah, that's about it. But guys, despite what's going on like currently, guys, it's all about being positive and being grateful to be alive, being grateful for what you have. But yes guys, as usual, if you've enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next one. God bless.